Oh hey, I'm glad you're here. Growing up in a video store, I would watch pretty much everything, and I've said before on this podcast that sometimes just one scene could make an entire movie worth a watch, in my opinion. Now those things become memes and GIFs, but before, you would just hear about the basketball head explosion in Deadly Friend and think, I have to find that movie. I would argue the robot is also awesome, but again, that could be just me. Or ninjas becoming fish in Twinkle Ninja Fantasy. Who doesn't want to see that? And I own it, and I've watched it multiple times. That could, again, be just me. Or who could forget the sewer screw in Tetsuo? I mean, oftentimes a director is credited with bringing such incredible sights to our eyes and minds, but the writer has to write it, lighting has to light it, makeup, effects, those artists. I mean, it takes teams of people to create these magical movie moments. These episodes of Late Returns are definitely dedicated to that, and this is definitely one of those movies. Also, in this episode, we talk about Bloody Mary Killer by Godfrey Ho, aka Undefeatable, aka Street Queen and Killer. I mean, man, Germany knows how to rename a movie. Street Queen and Killer? Perfection. If you've heard our episode on that movie, or any other Godfrey Ho banter from me, then you know it's hard for me to control myself when I talk about these things. I have to pat myself on the back. I show some restraint here, and we only return to the subject a few times. But let's get down to business. This film is Livewire. The guest is Matt Bledsoe, and this is VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns. Hello, and welcome to VHS Presents New Releases and Late Returns, our alternate format where we first champion what is currently bringing us joy from the realms of entertainment before we make a late return to a forgotten gem. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined by the host of the Film Feast podcast, Mr. Matt Bledsoe.
Hello, Dirk. How's it going?
Very good. And yourself?
I'm great. It's Friday night. The week is over. I feel good. I'm excited to be here to talk about a fantastic piece of cinema, I will say.
Yes. I mean, hopefully more than one fantastic piece of cinema.
No, just the one. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, in case people are listening to this podcast for the first time, you know, all the Brosnan heads, please tell us what Film Feast is all about.
Oh boy. What is Film Feast all about?
Yeah, boil it down. What you got? What's your elevator pitch?
That's my It's a terrible podcast elevator pitch because it's all over the place. But it boils down to just love talking about movies from all different times, different genres, all kinds of things. We're open to everything over on Film Feast, I think. Currently, in June, we've been doing an Indiana Jones series and going through the whole Indiana Jones series, going through all the movies in order, which has been a lot of fun. Usually it's more random than that, even. So, I like the randomness of Film Feast. It's just kind of like, whatever I feel like talking about at that time with cool people. So just celebrating movies over there and having long, sometimes very long form discussions about about the movies. It's fun. We try to be positive. I think people enjoy it. I don't know. I think it's a good time.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, it's something that I check out weekly. Do you have plans for what's coming up after Indiana Jones?
Oh God, no, Dirk. I don't blame that. Especially after having a whole month planned out. I almost feel like I'm going to be freewheeling it more than usual because I'm just going to be like, oh, I planned it a whole month. I'm just going to do whatever I feel like. Yeah, I don't know yet. I'm just going to probably
Okay.
reach out to some people and see what they want to talk about and try to get, some of the past guests back on and talk about cool movies. So I genuinely have no idea, honestly. I said the other day, I was like, I have no idea what I'm following this up with. So that's pretty much back to usual though for the show though, because it'll be random stuff every week. So
Great. Perfect.
yeah.
Well, that brings us to new releases, and we start with books. Anything you're currently reading? Anything in the world of print?
So my problem with trying to read books is that I will start to read a book and then get maybe third of the way in, part of the way, and then get not even like bored, but I'll just put it down and leave it for a while.
Yeah.
And then maybe go to another book that I feel like reading because I hop all over the place. I can't. So I did just get a book I'm very excited to read. Actually, I mean, literally yesterday, I bought a book on eBay that I just heard about, which I'm like, I need to buy this book. It's called Hong Kong Babylon.
Oh, yeah. I have that.
Okay. which seems to be all about Hong Kong cinema up to, I think, it came a long time ago. I think it came like 97,
Hmm.
which if I'm not mistaken, is the year that Hong Kong, they were under British rule for, 100 years, I believe. So that I think 97 was the year that they were no longer under British rule. So it's a big year in Hong Kong cinema. So I'm excited to read it as I've been watching a lot of Hong Kong movies this whole
Yeah,
year.
it's awesome.
Yeah. I know you're excited about that too. So I was like, I saw this book, someone posted about it, and I was like, I need to have that book. It was like, got Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh on the cover. Sign me up. I was like,
Hmm.
I love Hong Kong cinema. I want to read more about it. So I just got that. I will probably start reading that and probably get a third of the way through and then put it down and leave it for 6 months and hopefully come back. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of good stuff in there. I didn't realize it cutoff was 97. I got to look at that book again. But I'm actually reading Agitator, The Cinema of Takashi Miike, which was written by
Oh,
Tom Mess. I didn't know that this existed. And then over at Third Window Pictures, they had posted about it. And I was like, I have to have that book. And so now I have it. I've just looked at Ichi the Killer, but it's like broken up by films. Most of it is. And so I'm gonna be dipping in and out on that one, which is great because then it's not like I have to pay attention. It's I can
yeah.
just because like
Those-
I'm the same way with these books. Like I'll get them and I'm like, yes, Sam Furstenberg. I'm reading all about his movies, and then like that one took like a year because I would like pick it up, put it down, forget about it, see a title, read about that, and then there's chunks that I hadn't seen or read. Is that I go back. It's a mess, but I finished it. Any other books?
No, that just reminded me though. It's funny because I still have like that Tarantino book, Cinema Speculation. And if someone told me he wrote a book about movies like 20 years ago, I've been like, I'm going to devour that in 2 days.
Yeah.
I've gotten like a third of the way through and like put it down again. It's good. I just like, I don't know. I just have to hop around to different things. That's how my brain works apparently. So, I have lots of books to read. But no, nothing else currently right now.
Oh yeah, my to read pile is gross. It's like I like look at my to watch pile and I'm like, gotta get to those. And the to read pile, I'm like, I should put more Blu-rays over that just to cover
Yeah.
that what that is.
Cover those with Blu-ray.
Yes. Which brings us to music. Anything you're currently listening to?
Man, I'm not doing great this episode because I was like, not anything out of the usual. I think past times I've had stuff. I can't think of any bands I like to put stuff out recently. I just been throwing my shuffle on Spotify, just listening to,
Just a lot of
however
Aqua, right?
a
Just
lot,
okay, Barbie,
a
let's
lot
go
of
party.
Aqua, a lot of
Yeah, I
just
know
Barbie
you.
Girl
Yep.
nonstop, over and over,
The movie's coming
until I
out. You
go
got to get ready.
completely. Yeah, it's true. Which I heard they claim Barbie Girl's not in the movie. I thought I heard, which I thought was
That's
insane to not have that song in
preposterous.
the movie.
Yeah.
Those even if it doesn't line up, I don't know if it lines up real. There's something that the lyrics don't line up, but it was
You
like,
know
come
what's
on.
really weird is it is in Oppenheimer. It is in that movie. It does have it.
It's gonna be a needle drop when the bomb
Yeah.
goes off
When
of
the bomb
Barbie
goes off,
Girl.
it's like,
But
okay,
like,
Barbie, let's go party.
what if they did one of those sad, slow versions of a pop song they do all the time, where it's like, "I'm a Barbie girl."
Yeah,
That's
there you
just
go.
it's like a real sad, slow
Oh, they
version.
should do that like the Us trailer. You know how it had that I
Oh,
got five on it,
oh,
but super
yep.
slow.
They
Someone
should.
make an Oppenheimer trailer that's slowed down. Okay, Barbie, let's go party up till the big explosion. That's what I
My
want.
God,
Let's make that
I would love
happen.
that. I would love that. Yeah, I'm sorry, nothing on music because
That's okay.
I'm boring to listen to the same songs listen to forever on my shuffle. So yeah.
No worries. I did an episode on the Wax Trax Records documentary, and my guest Chase had his own industrial label in the 90s. So I've been diving back through a bunch of 90s industrial stuff and came across Contagion from the 90s. Their album Omnibus was one I had the cassette of. And so I put it on the other day, and I was grinning ear to ear. I felt like it was 1997 again. So that was a real blast. And then Calibre, Calibre, is a drum and bass dude. He has an album called Shelf Life 8, and it just sounds like old school, like light Omni Trio fluffy drum and bass. And so it's really good for just like summer vibes. It's all instrumental basically, so you can just put it on the background if you're like writing or cleaning or that's I sound like a broken record because I'm always talking about instrumental music for these like writing show notes or anything like that. But those are the two things that I came across most recently. But like yourself, I just have an onslaught of stuff that I'm constantly putting on if I'm not listening to podcasts. So,
I was gonna say there's been a lot of podcast listening lately, so the music has taken a backseat to that too.
Yeah, I forget I love music because I listen to so many podcasts, and then I'll put something on and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I do like listening to music while I'm working or whatever." Like this is what a treat, rather than pretending I'm part of a conversation I'm not a part of. But, that's it. What that brings us to games. I'm dying to know, are you playing any games?
Okay, now I got some stuff for you. So
Yes.
I'm going to tell you this. Did you buy the Resident Evil 4 remake?
No.
Okay. I One of my favorite games of all time.
Mhm.
So I was very excited when they did the remake. I It's almost embarrassing to say. I've played through the remake 3 times already. The game came
Whoa.
out the end of March because first time was like a normal playthrough, just figuring it all out. Because it's a remake, but they changed up enough stuff that it still feels very fresh.
Yeah.
And so I played a normal playthrough, and then I wanted to like play it on a harder difficulty, and then I wanted to like speed run it as fast as I can because I for some reason enjoy like doing that with games. So yeah, I kept having reasons to replay it, and it became like my play any to throw it on. But then after the first playthrough, put on mute and play a podcast while I play it. It was like my background game while I was listening to something. So loved it, thought it was amazing, played that to death. So I did just start playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor,
Oh,
which is
I haven't heard of this.
there was a game from a few years ago called Star Wars Fallen Order. I'm blanking the name. And this new one, Jedi Survivor, is a sequel. It's a really great game. It's kind of like Metroidvania style, where it's like you gain a new ability, you have to backtrack a map, and you open a new path and all that stuff.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome because you get to play as a guy who's a Jedi after Order 66, so most of the Jedi's been wiped out. So he's kind of like on the run, kind of out in hiding, and it's very fun. I mean, you just go around and kick people's ass with lightsabers in the forest, and you
It's like
just
an open
feel
world thing.
you basically travel to a planet, and then the map kind of opens up, and you can kind of go over the map, but it's a little more linear than open world.
Okay.
It's kind of a mix between like linear and open world, but it's not quite like do whatever you want. You can kind of explore and find hidden paths and things like that.
Is it
Uh,
single player?
it is single player.
Okay.
I don't think it even has a multiplayer. It's just single player story. It's really fun. It's just fun to like be a Jedi, honestly, to have a lightsaber and force push stormtroopers off of like a a ledge and stuff like that. Like it's a fun game, like
Oh,
just to capture the power. Yeah.
okay. So I end up watching a lot of YouTube stuff on video games, and so I
Oh,
saw people trying to force push like Darth Vader or something off a cliff, or
oh yeah, that does not work. He's
yeah.
he's
Okay. And also, going off the YouTube thing, going back to your first game, I would see stuff where it's like Resident Evil 4, what happens if you shoot the church bell and early or whatever. And so I've
oh
seen
yeah,
all
yeah.
these like alternate Resident Evil 4 things, but I've never played the game because I would just be like,
That's
well, I gotta know what happens if you. Or there was like a fishing one where these people
oh
are in this
yeah. You shoot the
boat.
lake and then
Yeah,
the lake monster pops out. Yep.
yeah.
A good one.
Seemed
There's a
cool.
lot of little fun secrets like that to find as you play the game. I love that game so much. And now the remake, I love that too. So
That's great. That's great. Okay, so then the Star Wars Eye of the Tiger. No, wait, Survivor. Is that what it was? That's right.
it should have been called Star Wars Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor is the name
Okay.
of it. I
Right.
just started playing that. It's been a really good time so far. It plays just like the first one, but it's just a very fun game to play. Like this never gets old using Jedi powers and using a lightsaber. Like it just the combat never gets old, honestly. It's just so much fun. It's a great game so far.
That's cool. My brother had I don't know which one, but it was a Star Wars game for the PC in like late 90s, early 2000s, and it was kind of open world where you could do whatever you want. And so like I would just run around and just murder people in the bar and stuff, and he would get like mad cuz he's like those people are innocent, and I'm like ah ha ha ha.
They called Battlefront possibly?
I don't know. It was so long ago. I mean,
I know
it
that's
was like on a
Battlefront
Commodore,
might be that
so
old. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what game that is, but
yeah,
yeah.
it was really weird. But it's the only Star Wars game I really played. I'm currently playing Diablo 4.
Oh, I know people are very excited about that.
Have you ever played a Diablo game?
I've never played a Diablo game. I had a friend that was
Me
into them, and I
neither.
watched him play on the computer, and I didn't get it. I don't want to say I didn't
Yeah,
get it. I was like, I don't think it's my style of game, but I'm happy everyone else is excited about it.
it wasn't my style either. And people know because I talk about this a lot, but I just play games as a social thing with my two other dad buddies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's very fun to run around and use your different powers. I chose Necromancer, which means I could explode corpses, which is
Oh.
like all I ever wanted to do my whole life is just explode corpses. It's weird because it's like not isometric, but it's like kind of top down at an angle. So at first I was like, this won't be a game for me. I don't know what this is. But it turns out very easy to pick up, super easy to customize your characters. That's always fun. I had to look up, I mean, embarrassing amounts of nerd posts on the internet so I knew how to build the characters because I just don't understand all that
Hmm.
numbers and all that kind of stuff. But once I got into it, very fun, easy to pick up, and I have like a squad of skeletons that follow me around and a giant golem, and I just blow up corpses and they do everything else for me because I'm not good at video games, but
Uh-huh.
it's very fun. There's lots of demons. It's a very, very dark game. At one point yesterday, my daughter was like on her tablet, and I was playing the game, and I was like, "There's at least 65 eviscerated corpses on the screen right now. I should probably not be doing this right now." But yeah, I recommend it if you can find a way into it. There's like multiple different characters you can play and things. I enjoy the corpse exploding, but one friend is a rogue where he's got like knives and whatnot. Another friend's a sorcerer, and I don't have any barbarian friends, but that's just normal for me. I don't usually. Uh,
Don't associate with barbarian.
I usually don't. As a no offense if you're listening to our barbarian listeners. I don't know how you're listening if you're a barbarian, but I guess you're not Amish. But okay, I don't want to get into it. But yeah, that's all I have for games. Anything else?
No, that was all I had, actually. That was
Okay,
all I had.
perfect, because that brings us to television. Anything episodic you're watching?
I got nothing today. I was trying to think, am I watching anything?
Because I got nothing too. This might be the first time neither person has something they're watching episodically.
God, I feel like there was something.
Blue's Clues. I think it's Blue's Clues you're
It's
watching?
oh, that was it. Blue School. It's like I'm just trying to learn how to mail a letter.
Yeah,
It's
yes. Mail time. Yeah.
it's a good song. That little mail time jingle. God, I do feel like because I watch so many movies, and then I feel like if I'm not watching movies, I watch things on YouTube in like bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
Like oh, a 5-minute video here, a 10-minute video there. So it's not really TV. I don't think I have anything to
Yeah.
report on. So sorry
I,
to disappoint.
that's okay. I have nothing as well, which brings us right into something we hopefully have something on, which is movies.
So this I have.
All
This
right.
I've got. Okay.
Yes. Give
That
it
was
to
gonna be the
me.
shortest episodes ever. If I,
Yeah, right.
no, but
Really. And there's no movie we're talking at the end. So that's it.
I've got one I think specifically for you to bring up that
Oh,
I'm very
I'm
excited to talk to you about. I
okay.
watched a Godfrey Ho movie today called Undefeatable, starring
Yes.
Cynthia Rothrock. Kind of insane. I don't know, like it's.
Did you know anything about it going into it?
I knew like the basic plot
But you
line
hadn't
or the
seen the
but
ending.
no, I've seen nothing
Okay,
from
okay.
it.
Because usually that's
The
all people know of this movie is that end scene. And I'm like, that's cool, but like you miss out on a lot of stuff. So I can't wait to hear your
Oh
thoughts.
yeah, the rest of the movie is totally worth watching. It's a real trip. It's got real unhinged energy throughout the whole thing, and
Yes.
from what I gather, it sounds like Godfrey Ho movies might have like pretty unhinged energy most of the time.
Yeah.
Like
Pretty safe bet. Yep.
feels like a train barely staying on the tracks. I mean, it's never boring. I will say that. I don't think it's it's particularly a great film, but that's okay.
What?
I'm sorry, sorry, Dirk. But I was never bored. I thought some of the acting was odd. I was like, but then I found out how Godfrey Ho directs people, and maybe that has part of the reason
A
because
little bit.
interview with Cynthia Rothrock because I got the Vinegar Syndrome
Yes. Yeah,
release
yeah,
of
yeah.
it. There was an interview with her. It's only 10 minutes long, and she was talking about how like Godfrey Ho, instead of like having people kind of off camera to feed the actors lines, sometimes he'll just like move his hand almost like he's like talk to the hand like a hand puppet. Like he's just got his hand. He's just like she's like look at the hand, and it's it's like very distracting. Godfrey, can you not do the hand thing? Like there's a scene where she has to. I mean, not really a spoiler because it's part of the movie. Her sister dies because she was dating a guy who's a martial arts serial killer,
Correct.
and yeah,
With the best hair.
the hair. Yeah, he has to avenge her sister. So she finds like there's a scene where they bring her to the morgue to identify the body, and she was
Oh,
like,
it's so
he
good.
was like, I was trying to be emotional, and like he had his hand like right off camera to look at, like here's your sister, and I'm like, I can't do this, Godfrey. Like, but there's some pretty good fights. I mean, some pretty good action.
Okay. The training scenes are like some of my favorites. When she trains in a yard, just in a yard,
In a yard.
is amazing. Everyone gets to train at least once. It's like
Oh yeah.
everyone gets a weapon and they're like, move it around. The scene where the two people are facing off and there's just styrofoam peanuts slowly following. It's, man, like, I didn't know if I could love anything more than that. Really.
I was like, wow, this is cinema.
Yeah.
And then it's funny
Yep.
because Godfrey Ho must have asked him to just stand still. It's not a
Yes.
freeze frame,
No,
but
it's
he's just
not.
like, you two face off and pose against each other
Uh-huh.
in the middle of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
They both just stop.
Yep.
The styrofoam peanuts are falling from the
Oh
sky.
my God.
I mean, it looks kind of neat, honestly. Like it looks a cool visual. They have like weapons, but it's like this makes no sense in the context of what's happening. They both just are standing still in holding poses,
Uh,
and then
they're being awesome, Matt, is
I
what's
mean, yeah,
happening.
they're like,
Look,
let's stop to be awesome for a second.
look, there's a famous director who's known for his gun ballet, and he's got doves flying in slow motion. Godfrey doesn't have that kind of budget. He's got styrofoam peanuts, baby. That's everyone hold still, and this is what we're gonna do.
Oh, it was so funny that Cynthia Rothrock scene where she's training with these two. I don't know what the name of these swords are. I feel like they're like
Yeah,
Chinese traditional swords. They've got
awesome.
like almost hooks. They're almost
Mm-hmm.
hook-like. And I'm like, it looks like she's training in a yard in like suburban,
She
you
is.
know, DC. And I looked up, they shot it in Maryland randomly. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's weird. I was like, what a place. So randomly shot in like Maryland. There's like traffic right by. There's like a
It's
road with cars just going by. I was like, this is weird.
yes.
The killer, I think, who was he played by? His name is Stingray. I love at one point somebody says he got his nickname Stingray because he's a vicious killer or
Yes.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so good.
Don Neum, he's insane. He
Mm-hmm.
has this crazy energy that is like so wildly insane and unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the whole premise is that Cynthia Rothrock's sister has left him because he's an insane abuser. And then he's like snapping on any woman he sees in public who vaguely resembles his ex-wife.
That's
He's like,
correct.
Anna. And they're like, who the hell is Anna? And then he just starts like,
Killing him.
and then every time he attacks some woman, she's with a guy who is also a martial artist,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't beat him because he's too good. Wild final fight.
Yeah. Yep.
There's another guy. I can't remember his name. I feel bad. The other, like the main cop that's with Cynthia
Oh
Rothrock.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're fighting, and he like looks at his shirt like, the fuck am I doing with this thing on? And then proceeds to like just rip it off. Like the way he looks at his shirt made me laugh so hard because he's like, huh, why am I still wearing this? And then just pulls it apart. It's wild. Eyes being gouged out. I don't know. Cynthia Rothrock, reliable, good as always. Everything else was kind of, but again, never bored. Not bored at all. But
John
it was
Miller
entertaining.
is the other cop.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's in some other stuff too. I love this like level of action where it's like these people all have like good moves. Like they're definitely
Right.
like fighters. They're trained in this stuff. The story and things like that is where stuff gets really interesting, and like this movie feels overly serious. Like
A
it's
little bit,
so
yeah.
fantastical and wild, but the soundtrack is like kind of dour, and they're kind of just bummed out. And then there's like these flurries of action. I really enjoy it. I did an episode on it a while ago. The one thing I always say is like I wish it didn't have the sexual assault of the sister.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
he's such an ass anyway that like we don't need it. And like other than that, it's kind of a fun movie. But every time I get to that part and I go, ugh, that's right. I don't. This
Yeah.
is not
Yeah, that part I was like, we
great.
could have done without that. We didn't need, because it's a
Yeah.
really fun movie. Like you'd want to show your friends, but then
Yep.
that scene would come up and you're like, oh, right, this is
Yeah. I'm
awkward and
gonna.
uncomfortable for everyone and not fun. And I read some people on Letterboxd too say like, man, the one thing that taints a really otherwise really fun experience is that scene. And I guess there's another cut that doesn't, there's a whole
Yes.
other cut of this movie
Oh
called like
yeah.
Bloody Mary Killer
Oh,
or
it's
something.
where Godfrey Ho's his own movie. He like cuts in other stuff from other. It's cool.
Heard it's wildly different. It's on the Vinegar Syndrome disc. I think I will watch that at some point too. I'm curious. I watched the trailer and it looked like it had just fight scenes from a whole different movie with different people. I was like, who are these people?
Yeah.
Wild, wild stuff.
All right. I have a question for you, Matt. What would you say if I told you there's a movie where it's kind of a ripoff of Predator, kind of a ripoff on Alien, and it stars Mark Dacascos?
I'm very intrigued. I'm very
Let me
interested.
tell you about DNA from 1996. It stars Mark
Okay.
Dacascos. It's a kind of an Alien Predator ripoff. There's like this
Oh.
xenomorph kind of that gets released in a jungle, and it's got predator vision, but it clearly looks like a rubber suit. But it's also completely CGI in parts, like
Oh.
and very different. Those two things. It's from the same director of the movie that we're talking about today, which is how I found it and watched it in its entirety on YouTube. It's not probably my favorite movie in the world. Is it watchable? Yes. Is Mark dreamy in it with his long locks? 100%. And does it have a great ending to the creature? Yeah, it's pretty magical. So if anyone wants to see those things, it's called DNA and it's from 1996 on the YouTube. I almost bought the DVD, but then I was like, "Oh, I'll just check and see if I need to own it." And it turns out I don't think I do today. Tomorrow that might change, but it's pretty interesting.
Wow. The creature actually looks really cool in the one screenshot I'm seeing on IMDb.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, we'll get to why that looks good and why there's complete CG parts in this because of the movie we're talking about later. But yeah, I was very excited, especially when I read about it being like a mutated something, and I was like, okay. And then I saw who the lead was, and I was like, I'm in. I'm all in on this thing I didn't know existed. But that's DNA. Do you have another movie?
I do. I do.
All
I have
right.
another movie, a recommendation from our friend Daniel Epler. I don't think I've even heard of before he brought it up. A movie called Run from
Oh,
1991.
yes.
Yep.
Patrick
With
Dempsey.
yes, Patrick Dempsey, Kelly Preston. Um, that might be the most notable people in the cast, but
I had this poster.
oh really?
Yeah, and
Oh,
it was the image that you see if you look the movie up of
right. It's
him
just the
running
word
the
run
silhouette.
over and over
Yeah,
in
just
red.
that one.
It's a very
Yeah,
yeah.
we had it in the video store, and we had got like 3 or 4 of them, and so I took it home and put it up in my room, and I was like, "This is awesome. I like this." I don't know
It's a cool
why.
poster. It probably is not talked about much because it doesn't have a Blu-ray. It isn't streaming anywhere. I had to watch it on YouTube in like so-so quality.
Yeah,
It definitely wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great. But I really loved it. I thought it was great. I love a One Crazy Night movie, and it's kind of like that.
yeah,
So Patrick Dempsey is this guy going, he's on like a little road trip to Atlantic City. He has to stop in this town due to his car having trouble. So he gets invited to this big poker game where he's winning a lot, but then there's a mobster there who's the son of a really powerful gangster, and like he pisses that guy off. The guy accidentally dies in a fight where it's like Patrick Dempsey does nothing to him. He just trips and falls and dies, but it looks very bad. And they're like, that guy killed, that guy's son. And then he's like on the run because this gangster pretty much owns this little city he's in. So he can't really trust the cops, can't trust anybody else. Everyone knows him very quickly. I think it starts off in the daytime, but it's like one whole night where he's just like on the run. Kelly Preston worked at the casino where he was playing, so she knows what happened and kind of helps him out at a certain point. And so yeah, it's basically just him on the run trying to get out of this crazy situation that he's found himself in. And it's great. It's like, I love this kind of movie. It's like, it just gets down to business. It's 90 minutes flat. It's got no fat on it. It's just like a fun adventure, I guess you could say. And yeah, it was really good. It was a great recommendation from Daniel and very much worth watching on YouTube. Quality's okay, not great, not terrible, but if there's no way to see it really, then that's the way to do it. So it feels like it should be released on Blu-ray, but like Kino Lorber we were
it
talking
does.
about. It
Yeah,
feels like a
yeah.
Kino movie. Yeah, it was a really good time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. This was like the time where Patrick Dempsey was trying to be something other than the Can't Buy Me Love Patrick Dempsey.
Hmm.
Just the good looking, kind of nerdy guy. So I was all in because I was a big John Cryer guy when he tried the same thing. So I like Run a lot. I should probably rewatch that. I haven't seen it in a minute. So I think I'll run and check that out. The next thing I was talking about is Cyber Tracker 1 and 2. I don't know if you're a big Cyber Tracker fan.
I can't say that I am,
No?
although it sounds weirdly familiar. I'm about to go look it up
So
and
it
like.
stars Don the Dragon Wilson. This is a future, a Secret Service agent's framed by his own and becomes the target of a seemingly indestructible cyborg executioners. Yeah, that's right. It rules. Cyber Tracker is great. I love cyborg movies. I know Ryan from New World Pictures is a big Lady Cyborg fan. I'm a Lady Cyborg fan as well, but I think also I like the dude cyborgs. And I like that, like, when I was a kid, I didn't understand that, like, okay, we want to have this robot hunt this guy down and kill him, but we can't really afford a lot of robot stuff, so they also look human. And you're like, wait, what? Or, in movies where they're like, okay, so it's Beastmaster 2, but he's going to travel through time and be in LA. And you're like, is this to save money? And they're like, nope, not at all. What? No.
It's like the He-Man
Yes,
movie. They were the canon He-Man movie. They
exactly.
couldn't do Attorney as they were like, just be in LA. Like,
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
I like when I saw He Man, because I was like, I probably pretty perfectly aged for that. Was that 87?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I was 10. That was right in the pocket. Maybe I was a little too old. I don't know. But watching it, I was so confused. I was like, why aren't we in Eternia? What is going on? And same thing when I watched the movie Eliminators. I was like, what? We have awesome ninjas and cyborg dudes. Why are we in this one forest? Like, because they don't have money.
They don't have money.
They don't have money.
Yeah.
And so this is what they're shooting. So yeah, it's very confusing. But Cyber Tracker, it's all on the screen. You got Don the Dragon Wilson being awesome. You got a dude being his best RoboCop he could be, and I'm all here for all kinds of Robo anybody's. So from Robo Vampires to this. There's also a sequel, Cyber Tracker 2. It's on the same Blu-ray. Equally fun. I almost love it more than the first one. Very fun. 1995, I want to say. So yeah, that's Cyber Tracker 1 and 2. Do you have another movie?
No, I think
Perfect.
that's really all I had. So
Great.
yeah.
I have one more. It's called Terminal Force. It's also known as Galaxis. And a man and a woman race against each other in pursuit of two crystals. Legend says the sacred crystal is the source of all life, and she plans to use the crystal powers to keep it for herself. Stars Bridget Nielsen, and the big baddie in it is Richard Mole. Everyone knows from Bull in Night Court. Yeah, but he's the bad dude. He rules in this. He's so crazy over the top. Might be my favorite Bridget Nielsen role. It's very fun, very futuristic. There is a sequel, Terminal Force 2, but it's actually just a different movie that was just called Terminal Force 2. Doesn't
Oh.
feature Bridget Nielsen at all, and for some reason, spoiler alert, Richard Mole dies in the first one. He's back in the second one. So I think they just were like, we have Richard Mole, so I don't know how that works, but that is the last one I wanted to throw out there because I just watched both of them. Thoroughly enjoyed the first one.
Okay. I again haven't heard of. Maybe I heard of Cyber Tracker because I feel like the cover looks familiar from the video store days. I'm
right?
like, I think I saw this tape around, and I'm sure our friend Rob Antiquera has seen it because that man's the biggest Don the Dragon Wilson fan I think we could ever meet. So I wonder what he thinks of that one too.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're listening, let us know what you think of Cyber Tracker 1 and 2.
Yeah.
We gotta know. We gotta know.
We
So
need him to weigh in.
head on over to Twitter or Instagram and let us know about that. Which means it's time for our late return to That was Chris Green, ex-drummer from Agalloch, mastermind of Seven Fingered Pharaoh, which played Sarah and Mai's wedding reception, and was nice enough to record that little intro. And at the end of this episode, an entire song by Seven Fingered Pharaoh will play, which is called Kill You With Metal, which is one of my favorite songs. And at our wedding reception when they played, I think it's the song where my wife's mother lost her voice because she was throwing horns and screaming metal. So, pretty awesome. But back to the movie.
Amazing.
The synopsis is after a U.S. senator is killed, a bomb disposal expert is brought in to investigate the deadly explosive and must uncover the terrorist plan. At the time of this recording, you can stream it on Amazon and YouTube. I know we both have the DVD, but I would be remiss not to say people should support their local video stores like Movie Madness right here in Portland, Oregon. Our director is Christian Duguay, who also directed Screamers, Scanners 2 and 3, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, I've not seen any of those movies, sadly.
You haven't seen Screamers? With Peter Weller?
No, I want to.
Dude,
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. Also, you should also see Screamers 2, which was made in 2009. Not bad for a sequel. Yeah, it happens way later.
It's like that's a big gap, yeah.
Yeah, but I was excited about it. There's some good kills in there, and it's pretty fun. So
Okay.
I recommend picking that up. Starring Pierce Brosnan, as we know from Detonator 1 and 2. Everybody, right?
I saw them in the IDB. I've never seen it.
Okay, great. Ron Silver from Time Cop, Ben Cross from Chariots of Fire and First Night, and Tony Plana, who was Jefe in Three Amigos. So, what I think everyone wants to know is, Matt, how did you come to Livewire?
Oh, wow. You know what's funny? I just watched it for the first time earlier this year, like January, February. I feel like I lived with it way longer. I feel like it's been a part of my life for a very long time. I don't know why. Somebody had posted a clip on Twitter of one of the many people exploding scenes. I think it was the courtroom scene that I saw first, and I said, "Oh my God, what is this movie?" And then was like looking around one day, and somehow I just decided to watch it. It might have been streaming somewhere for free, like Amazon Prime, and I just was like, I should watch that Livewire movie that I saw that clip on. It looked insane. And what a treat it was. I was just like, I had the best time. It was like the first thing I watched in the morning when I was working at home. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, Livewire was playing. It was a beautiful day. When I really like am enjoying a movie, I am just laughing out loud uncontrollably and like just talking back. Like I'm like, what is this? Like I'm like talk. I can't help myself. There's no one around, but I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, and in a good, I'm just having the best time. And I remember that with Livewire, like every single scene, I was like, oh my God, what is happening now? And it's so breezy and entertaining. It's under 90 minutes long. Pierce Brosnan's acting like he's on a different planet. Like I love when he gets kind of crazy. Like he's just like manic, his eyes get
Mm-hmm.
big and he's just like freaking out. Said he's so much fun in this. Like I love him as Bond.
Yes. Yeah.
I know it's probably a, I always say your first Bond is your favorite. He was my first Bond because like when Goldeneye came out, that movie and the game, and it was like that's how I started watching all the other Bond movies was him as Bond. So he made my favorite Bond. It's hard to Daniel Craig's great too, and Sean Connery, but it's just but I love him as this because I feel like he's kind of like unhinged and kind of a dirtbag in Livewire. So sorry to answer your question, just came across it randomly after seeing a couple clips on Twitter and loved it from the first viewing and so entertaining.
Yeah. I agree. I had a mess up in my notes previously. The director of Galaxis is who did DNA.
Okay, that's I was confused. I saw like his name was William Mesa, and I
Yeah.
was like, didn't Christian Duguay?
No, no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I,
yeah.
I, I was using it for people. Here's a little inside podcasting. I was gonna say baseball, but I don't know how that works. But I've been using a new note program, and it put the note in a weird place. So anyway, back to what we're talking about here. It's Christian Duguay. Yeah, I had saw this back in the day. I was just digging through Pierce Brosnan stuff because, like I mentioned, with the Detonator 1 and 2, there's some action stuff in there when he was going from Remington Steel or whatever and on to films. They're very fun and interesting and worth checking out. And this movie is, we'll get to all the great things about it, but it is not like those. It is its own thing, and it's very aware of what it is. And from the opening scene, we get these awesome, like, metal, like, letters that say Live Wire, and, like, guitar solos ripping through this movie. And just water starts pouring over the burning letters, which is just like, wow, okay, I'm already
Yeah. So I'm in
so
for something good here.
so ready. And then we see all these different shots of water. There's like they're so on point with the theme here, where it's just like there's a fire hydrant spraying water, and then like you do this crazy pull through a glass of water in the like restaurant to put us in like the film. It's just like okay, what? And then this guy walks by this person, and he goes outside, and you're like they're up to something, and then this whole restaurant explodes. Like they're like this person exploded, and I'm like no, a whole restaurant exploded, killing someone outside of it in an amazing ball of fire. And then the great thing is it cuts back and you see a perfectly fine waiter just running away from the restaurant, and I'm like where was he? Like what? Everyone died in there, and this guy is like pristine. I don't know what happened, but
Was he hiding in the fridge? Where was he? Like, what
I
was he
know
doing?
outside smoking or something, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like it's crazy. I love the opening scene. It really sets the pace for like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It puts you right into it. I will say, I think the first thing you see is a title card that I thought, ooh, this is one of the most poorly aged title cards. 'Cause it says something like, up to this point, the United States has never
oh
been a
right,
target of a major terrorist attack, and I was or never suffered one. I was like, ooh, yikes! This is like even pre
yeah,
93 attempt on the World Trade Center, and I was like, ooh, movie that didn't age well. It was like very weird to watch, and they're like so confident about it. Like we've never had a major terrorist attack in this country.
mm-hmm.
Like, ooh boy, but then they're like, here's this crazy explosion scene in this restaurant that starts off the many practical explosions. I
Yes,
mean, it's very it sounds weird, refreshing to see movies with like practical explosions.
mm-hmm.
Especially, I don't think they had a huge budget, so it's like, but they just didn't have a choice. So it's like we have to blow this thing up, and it was nice to see. I was like, oh, this is good. Just they
It's
actually,
so great to see an actual explosion. I was just watching a movie, Nomi Rapace, and they're in front of a fireplace
Oh,
that's clearly a fake fire. And I was beside myself. I was so mad. I was just like, this is where we're at. Wood is too expensive for a movie, so it's all CG. I had a tweet already, and then I was like, I'm not that old guy that's going to tweet about this kind of stuff, but I will say it on my podcast. It was bullshit. Like, just put a real fire. What is this? And so this movie, with all its practical explosions, it's such a treat. It's just great. It's dangerous. It's so bonkers to see these dummies get exploded. And
my God, so many exploded dummies.
oh my gosh, it's crazy. Pierce is
Oh
so tightly wound in this movie.
my God, he is a man about to snap at any moment.
So good. He goes to the restaurant. There's no bomb pieces, so they're like, we don't know what they blew up from. It's crazy. And then there's just endless heavy metal guitar solos happening. Like the soundtrack is just someone picked up a guitar ready to rock and didn't know the rest of the song. They're just like, I'll just noodle it the whole time.
Just riff it the
Yeah,
whole time.
it's so good. We meet the bomb robot, which is named Madonna.
Yes, one of my favorite parts. So good. So good.
Oh man.
Oh,
He storms into his old house despite a restraining order, which is the first of many times he shows he doesn't follow restraining orders at all.
right.
He heads to the old pool where his daughter drowned, so he drained the pool because it's like they always said, you have to run from water? No, that's not a saying. It's just, this movie is so like, get it? It's water. Water is bad. It kills
Water, yeah.
children. It blows you up. It's like somebody's parents were like, you got to drink, 60 ounces of water a day. And he's like, you know what? Water's the devil, and I'm going to write the movie to prove it. That's what I feel like Livewire is.
This movie's anti-water.
Mm-hmm.
One
Anti-hydration.
of like the tenets of human life.
Yes.
Like, no water.
No, I don't like it.
Oh.
I drink Barks root beer, and that's it. And then the bad dudes kill the scientist that made the water bomb for them. He's stabbed in with a pen in a warehouse that has no overhead lighting. These bad dudes are hiding in this place that has blue light coming from the ground, I'm guessing. There's no overhead lights anywhere in there. It must have been so hard for that poor scientist to make anything. He's just like squinting. He's like, I don't know. It's hard enough it looks like water. Like, how do I even know what I made is going to explode? I don't know what it is. Pierce goes to the courthouse and threatens a cop for talking about his wife, and then talks to his ex-wife because he has terrible restraining order following abilities.
Can we take a moment
Yes.
to talk about, this is one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Oh.
I lost it. He comes into this courthouse for this big hearing. He lives in D.C. His wife is having an affair with the senator played by Ron Silver, and he goes into the elevator. The two cops are like, as soon as he gets over, he's like, oh, that's the guy that the senator's banging his ex-wife. And like the doors have closed, but Pierce Brosnan gets off the elevator, comes back to these two guys and goes, hey, buddy, they ain't fucking. They were kissing. It's like, or something of that effect.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
It's like, it's not that bad. They're just kissing. Like, I lost it.
And then he gets back on the elevator.
He gets back on the elevator. He had to clarify.
And they're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
Should have known. Okay.
Oh.
It's amazing. And then we meet Ron Silver, who is like, I don't mean this to sound derogatory, but he's like a poor man's Al Pacino, right? Like Ron Silver is kind of like that. He's just kind of, the second I was looking at him, I was like, oh, okay. I get the vibe of what you're doing. Next, there's a limo scene where a guy drinks the water, the bomb water. Everyone's trapped in the limo, and it blows up just as the cop looks in the window. But then the guy that set the bomb off gets hit by a car. And then 10 seconds later, he's in a courtroom. Like, I mean, amazing.
Right there, yeah. He's just, that whole sequence is insane. It's again, the movie just throwing stuff at you so fast. Like,
so
car
fast.
goes off, the cop dummy gets blown away. I don't care if somebody looks great. And then the guy like runs off, gets hit by a car. You're like, oh my God, what's happening?
And the great thing about this is like, it's clearly an action movie, but it has these horrific elements to it because when people drink the bomb water, within like 10 to 20 seconds, their eyes turn bloodshot red and they're like choking and convulsing. Some of them are expanding out of their skin for some reason. Like, it's just like, what? And then they blow up. Like, it's just like, whoa, okay. I can see why this director did Scanners 2 and 3, because he loves people blowing up more than anybody.
Wow, yeah.
Then I think his ex comes to see him at his apartment. The bad guy visits Ron Silver at a racquetball court. Bunch of stuff where I was just like, none of this is worth mentioning. But Pierce visits Ron Silver's house, which is illegal again and against the restraining order for a third time. Jeez, Pierce. Pierce's partner figures out it's the water, and that, because
Oh yeah.
he's like, I think it's water, and Pierce is like, oh, okay, cool. He's just like, oh, all right. I would be like, that's crazy. Like, can we just talk about this? Like, what? Bomb water? Ah. Ron Silver is hosting a fundraiser at a park, and it's like, I think that's what's happening.
Oh,
I've seen it
man,
like
yeah.
5 times now. This sequence is my favorite. Pierce looks totally nuts. He causes complete havoc. And then the dude in the clown makeup, like, for me personally, I don't think clowns are scary. I think it's dumb. It doesn't work for me. People that are into like spooky clown stuff, it's not my thing. I see it and I go, this is silly. This is all silly. This guy in clown makeup is terrifying. Like, it's just like, I saw his face and I'm like, that's bad. Like,
Yeah, he's not a fun clown. And then it gets even scarier when his eyes start.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Bloodshot bugging out of his head. He's like, oh, he's a scary looking clown. I would not want them near children or anything.
So at this part, Pierce basically calls it all off. He's like, everyone get out of here. No one's going to explode. Like, just let's all be safe. And then the clown guy, who's leaving, he's clearly leaving with the other bad guy. And then he's like, no, you know what? I'm still going to do it. And then he sprints back to the lemonade stand and tries to push it into a fountain, I guess to make a super bomb? I don't know what the plan is. It's weird.
I don't really know either. I think it is the plan to blow the whole place up by pushing it into the fountain,
and
I believe.
One of my favorite visual moments. And if you didn't pick up on this, maybe it'll be your favorite, or maybe it already lives in your heart forever, because there's a very long sequence where he's fighting the clown in the fountain, and they're punching each other in the face. It's super, like, action-y and whatnot. And then briefly, it cuts to his partner, who's standing with the robot, and he's still holding the robot controls. Like, it's so...
I don't think I even picked up on that.
It's so funny, because, like, he looks so silly with their little remote control thing while we've been watching this fight for his life Pierce Brosnan bomb situation, and then his buddy is just like, just watching. He's still got the control, just like, do we still need Madonna?
Yes, do we need the robot? Do I need the help? Like, he's like, should I do something?
I brought this. No?
Wow.
And
I
then
pay attention to that again next time I watch
it. Please, it is so good. And then the thing we all didn't know we wanted, the clown is going to explode. And so what happens? Well, we skipped over where a child in a wheelchair is dumped out of the wheelchair. And Pierce...
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Pierce takes the boy's wheelchair. So the boy now has no mobility issue. Like, he's just on the ground. There. That's it.
The place goes off, yeah.
Pierce steals his wheelchair, not just to borrow it, but to blow it up. And it's just like... That's crazy.
Sorry, little boy, we'll get you another one.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to put this nightmare clown in here and blow him up on the stage. Wow, it is really amazing.
The clown away, pushes him in the wheelchair. It's a great explosion.
So good.
The cut to the explosion. So this sequence, the whole sequence of the park, has such manic, crazy energy. Like, this is like the movie in a nutshell. This whole, because it's so like, it's just so like, like it's like vibrating with energy and craziness. Like, I love it. It's so much fun. Like, that scene also got a lot of traction on Twitter. I feel like after I watched it, like, somebody reposted just Pierce Brosnan and the clown fighting, and then like him blowing the clown up, because you're like, this is insane. What is this from? And it's like, this is Livewire. This is what it's all about.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
It's amazing. There's also next a long sex scene. Does your DVD have the unrated widescreen and the rated?
Yes, I saw it. I think the R-rated cut when I watched it months ago. Bought the DVD because criminally there's no Blu-ray of this. Please, again, Kino, put this out. Vinegar Syndrome, somebody. But there's a unrated cut which I watched this time, and I think the only big difference is like the sex scene is longer, and it feels like straight out of like a Cinemax movie, Skinemax from back in the day. Like, you're like, whoa, I did not expect that in this movie. Plus, the weird thing is, I mean, it's Pierce Brosnan and the estranged wife, who I feel like has had no reason to want to sleep with him. And, like, it's so weird because he's like in a bathtub, and then she comes and gets in there, and it's just like, wait, you like him now? Like, he's been doing all this crazy stuff, like stalking you basically, and and they're just like, let's get it on. And then it's this very long, long sex scene where I'm like, okay, I guess they've worked things out.
I skipped over the part where we're introduced to Pierce Brosnan as he undoes a bomb or whatever underneath a woman's chair in her seat in a car, and then he looks up her skirt and tells her to wear underwear. I forgot about that part.
Oh yeah, I meant to say something, but we were just going too quick. But that's the introduction of the character. The intro to
Yes.
the hero of the movie is like he's being a weirdo to this woman who's like in a car with a bomb in it, and he's
Yeah.
trying to defuse it, and he chastises her for not wearing underwear and for he's like, who put the bomb here? It's like, oh my ex who I cheated on, I think. And he's
Hmm.
like basically is like, don't sleep around, and this is what happens. Like I think this is a pretty extreme response
Yeah.
to cheating on someone, like to blow their car up or try to blow their car up. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, kind of a scumbag character, Pierce Brosnan, but very entertaining.
The writer of this movie has definitely been cheated on and told he needs to drink more water. That's all we know
Yeah,
about this
that's
guy.
all we know. That's all we know.
He's like, I got it. I got these plot points. Uh, Pierce then apprehends Ron Silver, and we get the two of them kind of like buddy cops almost. It's like the weirdest, like, this guy's bad, but the second those two get together, they have charisma, and it's just like fun to be in this. And this is the part where, even if none of this other awesomeness existed, I would be all in for just what's about to happen in this movie because Pierce just starts making bombs
Right, he
out of
becomes
household
MacGyver.
things. I love clearly because we've covered both on this podcast FX and FX2. So
Oh,
this
I
is
love those
like
too. Yeah,
FXy in a way because he's just like I can make one with like Vaseline or like it's
yeah,
just like what? Like a guy explodes in the kitchen, a guy falls and is impaled on glass. Like this action movie is like really goes for it. It's
yeah.
like
He becomes like MacGyver, and it becomes like an adult R-rated Home Alone because he's
yes.
making all these little
Yep.
traps and killing the guys in the house, and it's like I was like, wow, okay, he's got a lot of talents, Pierce in this movie.
It's crazy.
It's
And then Ron has like millions of dollars stashed in this wall, but it's not
oh
something that's
right,
really pertinent to anything. It's just like
right, his
he's like, "To
illegal
hope you have
money.
insurance," and he's like, "I don't." And then they're like moving right along, and then Pierce makes a bomb that shoots nails, and we get like the view of the nails flying through the air, like from
Great, yeah.
right to left into a dude's throat, and I was just like, what is going on in Livewire? It's
Oh,
so bonkers. And then it gives us, they jump out a window. We get a big explosion. I think it's the explosion that's on the cover of the DVD. I think the silhouettes anyway.
think so because his wife is there, correct? Like
Yes,
the
yeah,
wife
she's
has,
there too.
so
Yeah,
she gets out because one of the main bad guys like, well, I can't get out of this, so he drinks the liquid. It's like I'm
yeah,
gonna blow up. So they get the wife out safely, but then Ron Silver and Pierce Brosnan have no way to get out like
right.
easily or safely. So
Yeah, no, she and her mom aren't they both apprehended by the dude and brought to the?
no, the mom gets knocked out, which is kind of, I
That's
feel
right.
bad laughing, but her mom's like this old woman, like, and this guy comes to the house and is like, she's like, hello. And then he just like punches, like,
Yeah,
I think he like pistol whips her. It's like, oh God, he pistol whipped that old woman. Like, so I think she's left behind, but they take the wife.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but that's how they get her to the end scene, which really
Yes.
comes down to these awesome action sequences. So they jump up through the explosion, and Ron is impaled on a fence, and I was just like, "Jeez!" Like just wrapping it all up in a nice little bow,
Oh,
and then
because
it's
it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go
It's
ahead.
like could not believe that's the way they dispatched Ron Silver because it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, they've been buddying up. Um, and then I think the screenwriter was like, well, how do I get out of the situation with like, she's been sleeping with Ron Silver or she's been with him, but I want her back with Pierce Brosnan. I'll just murder Ron Silver's character. And then it's like clean break. It's like,
yeah,
hey, baby, don't worry. He's gone now. We can be back together now. I just thought it was insane that they jump on this fence. Ron Silver's
yeah.
impaled. Pierce Brosnan's okay. I just cackled. I was like, they killed him? I
I
was
feel like
like,
he was
what?
like writing it, and he didn't have an ending. And then he's like, "Hey, will you read this?" And his friend read the script, and he's like, "I'm confused, cause like, are we supposed to like Ron Silver?" And he's like, "Well,
Right.
he's like a
We
bad
not?
guy, but then we kind of like him at this part." And he's like, "I just don't know if I'm supposed to like him or not. I'm kind of on the fence." And then the writer was like, "On the fence, you say? Perfect. He dies on the fence. Great."
He
And
dies.
it's a
I mean,
perfect.
he is a politician who's taking money from
Sure,
or
they
buying
all
weapons for
are. I
terrorists.
think
I mean,
that's
yeah, I mean that's
all I
true. I was like,
read
oh,
on
this is
on Twitter is people being like, "My side doesn't take money," and then the other people go, your side does take money, and they're like, oh, nuts. It's just that's politics. I feel like.
I was like, oh, this is an accurate part of the movie that most politicians are probably taking money from places they shouldn't be and getting involved in illegal
I
activity.
mean, because why else be a politician? I mean, at some
for the
level,
for
you'd
just
have
the
to.
love
You
of helping people. It's
No,
like
because it's just everyone hates you all the time, and you just.
right.
I mean, I feel like I don't ever read into. I'm very not political. People that listen to my podcast would know, but that's how I just always feel about any of it. I go, yeah, I feel like at some point somebody's got to offer you money for something, and you're like, sure would be nice to have money, and someone's like, here you go, and you're like, well, thanks, and they're like, now I own you. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to offer me money, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's crazy. And then the best thing this movie does is put us right back with that same lady who has another bomb under her seat. Because the question we all want to know is she gonna wear underpants? And she is. The end of movie. What?
Oh,
What?
and don't forget to reveal that so he's helping her again in the same situation. And then they're like, "Hey, you got to go. Your wife's in labor." So they're having another baby
Mhm.
after the first child, was
Yeah.
died in that accident. Now it's like the end of the
Mhm.
the whole thing. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, we're
Yeah,
back
because
with the
her
same
water
lady."
broke, right?
No, but I believe
Right?
so.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
Fucking this movie and
So much
water.
water. Movie and
Waterworld has
water.
less water than this movie.
It's oh man, it's so good.
Yeah,
It's such a
I agree. It gets better every time I watch it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, you know what this movie doesn't do? Waste time.
No, it wastes no time. I think like the only scene you could really say that it like slows down even is the scene when it's Pierce Brosnan and his wife like having like an argument at his
Ugh,
place
yeah.
early or in the middle
Then
or early like
the kitchen sequence where he first comes in, I was like, who cares? No one's exploding in this scene.
yeah, although Pierce Brosnan doing some like capital A acting when he
Yeah.
talks when he's fighting with his wife, he's like, "Our child died." Like it's very dramatic, It's
Mm-hmm.
I like this Pierce Brosnan. He feels very alive in this whole thing. Like he's just very like I got a lot of energy, and he's more restrained as Bond, like
Mm-hmm.
or even he's in Mrs. Doubtfire the next year, and he's very like cool and collected in that. So it's just funny to see him play somebody who's like so feels like unhinged and like kind of slimy too. It's like kind of a scumbag. It's just different. I enjoy seeing him in a different part like this, and it's such an entertaining movie. It's just wild.
Yeah, I love the idea of like Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire makeup, and they're on set, and Pierce is like, "So I was just in Livewire," and Robin's like, "Hello," he's just very excited about hearing
Hello.
about Livewire.
Mhm.
He's like, "The water makes people explode," like it's just because who saw this when it didn't play and it couldn't have played in theaters, like Livewire in a theater.
Oh God, I would love it though. I would if I had a theater, I'd program it every month. I love how I scroll down because I was to see how much money it made, and the first piece of trivia I see is Pierce Brosnan waxed his body hair for this film.
Hmm.
Like, thanks, IMDb. Oh yeah, I don't know if it doesn't have a box office. It says budget 9 million. I don't know what the release was like for Live Wire, but it should have played in theaters. I tell you, should have been everywhere.
Brought to you by Smart Water. Yeah, Live Wire. Any final thoughts for Live Wire?
This is like the most entertaining thing I've seen this year. I've seen better movies, don't get me wrong, but this is by far one of, if not the most entertaining things I've seen this year. I love it. It's so up my alley and dialed into like what I like in movies. I feel like it's just, I don't know. It's like it's so ridiculous, but it's fun and got all these crazy things happening. I was like, God, the bomb robot named Madonna, the explosions, Pierce Brosnan being like a crazy kind of scumbag, but I like him. The weird asides, like just the great example is the whole like what a weird beat to include two guys talk. Everyone knows about his affair too. Everyone knows
Yeah.
about the senator and this lady, and they know Pierce Brosnan. I was like, why does everyone know a bomb defusal expert in this city? But that little beat when they're like, oh, I heard that guy's getting his wife's getting banged by the senator, and then to have him come out and go, hey, buddy, they're not having sex, they're kissing. It's such like an example of like the weird little beats included in Livewire that just I enjoy it so much. I just love movies with kind of crazy energy. I don't know. I really, really enjoy it. I don't know what to say. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I was so excited that you reminded me that this existed because I just hadn't thought about it in forever. And honestly, don't think I thought it was awesome when I first saw it. I think I was just like watching it because at the time it was like whatever. And then you were like, I love this, and I was like, I know Livewire, and so I tracked down that $5 DVD,
Yeah, it was
and
not expensive.
holy smokes, I love this thing. I love the sound, I love the vision, the look of the whole thing, the acting, the cast. Like it's a 10 out of 10 for me for sure. Like it is firing on all cylinders, no wasted time. I mean, they try to put a little bit of drama in there, and obviously, like you were talking about with Hong Kong movies, same thing with action movies. When they try to give the actors something to act about, I'm like, ah, all right, I'll take it. But you know why I'm here? Make someone pop. Like I want to see someone
Right, right.
explode. So,
Yeah, it just has that early 90s look and feel. I enjoy the
mm-hmm.
set. The score is good. Like I said, it's very metal. Like there's just like guitar riffs and like
Yep.
yeah, the look of it is great. It's the kind of thing that easily could be not appreciated if you watched it close to when it came out or when it
Yeah.
came out,
Yeah.
because it would just fall in line. It's like, oh, it's another like programmer movie. But like watching it through like fresh eyes now, it's like, oh, we don't get stuff like this. This is crazy. Like this is like it have real explosions. Like I mean, it's weird, but weirdly accessible. It's a very it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I've been trying to harp on it for like the whole year since I saw it. I feel like I can barely do it justice. It needs to be seen to be believed, I think. But it's very entertaining. I'm so happy. It's like when something's not boring, just don't be boring. That's why I was
Yeah.
like Undefeatable. I didn't really love Undefeatable, but it was not boring. I think the worst sin a movie can
Yeah.
have is to be boring. Livewire is like, we're not going to be boring for 1 second. Like, you know, it's like we will just.
Okay, you mentioned it, so we got to talk about it one more time. Undefeatable.
Okay.
I love the beginning where Cynthia Rothrock is fighting in the streets. She's
Yes.
fighting grown-up people who are supposed to be, I think, in high school.
Yeah,
One
I
of
was
them's in
confused by
it.
that.
He's wearing a champion sweatshirt with chains across the front. It's just like
Yes. Yeah.
those are
Why?
the details where I'm like, okay. And it's not a fight to the death, it's a fight till you touch the ground with one hand. Okay. And then the movie Undefeatable ends. I know we're talking about Livewire, but bear with me. Because
It's
it
okay.
ends with a story of basically it's a story of going to college. That's basically what it's about. That's the end of Undefeatable. And you're like,
My
of
God.
all the things I've seen in this movie, what is this? And so this movie,
Oh.
I like this one where it's just like, and the end is keep your underwear on. That's it. That's the
The whole message: keep your underwear on, don't cheat on anybody. Because yeah, it is. Oh man, I'm thinking about Livewire now. It's really about punishing people who cheat because
yes.
Ron Silver is murdered, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's not even so much for his crimes of like taking illegal money. I feel like it's more for being the guy that Pierce Brosnan's wife cheated on, and then chastising that woman for cheating on her boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and then she has a bomb in her car twice in
Twice.
like a year. I was like, wow, is Livewire just like a damning indictment of infidelity?
Yes. Infidelity and hydration are the two things that
Yeah,
they're not
drunk
cool.
water, don't cheat on your spouse. Undefeatable. I meant to bring this up. I know it's kind of a spoiler, but not really,
Yes.
because the very end of the movie, you watch
Yeah.
this insane movie about a serial killer and all these fights, and then there's like these are grown men who kind of hang out with Cynthia Rothrock. They're like her gang or something, and like the guys keep making a joke about it was like, oh, we should go to college, and one guy's like, our IQs are too high, we can't go to college, and then Cynthia Rothrock goes, hey guys, don't worry, I enrolled you in college, and I was like, can you enroll three adult men in college again, like without them knowing? And then another beat. So Cynthia Rothrock says that, and then the cop guy that she's with turns
Yeah.
to her and goes, "Hey, I enrolled you in college too."
Yes.
It's a bunch of adults enrolling other adults in college. I'm like, is it that easy? Like, without their knowledge, to be like, you're enrolled now, like you're going to college, enjoy the student debt. I just, oh, I loved it. I lost it that part.
That's what we need is a sequel to Back to School starring Cynthia Rothrock where her and her other adults are in college again. Only the shenanigans they get into involve karate and street fighting.
Right. I would
Back
love that.
back to karate school is what we're going to call it. We're going to crowdfund it. That and Livewire 2.
Oh, I love that. Follow up with Pierce Brosnan's character now, see what he's up to.
That-
They should go back to that same woman
That's
being in a car 30 years later and being like, I cheated on my husband. And he's like, I told you not to do that. And like, at least you're wearing underwear this time. All these little weird beats. That's the kind of things I love in a movie when they drop all these little weird
Mm-hmm.
things, like the robot named Madonna, the Pierce Brosnan commenting on the woman, in the car. It's so weird. It's just like, why?
But
It's
Madonna's
like,
like, there's no joke there.
no,
Like,
they just call the robot Madonna. It doesn't
it,
look like Madonna. It doesn't
it's-
sing. It doesn't. I just like, why? I mean, she's very popular in '92, but why not? Just all these, but they give it like personality. They give the movie. It's not like a
yeah,
generic
it's such a
thing
weird
because all these
choice.
weird little personality quirks. I just really, really enjoy Livewire. It makes me giddy when I watch. I'm just so happy when I watch it. I'm like smiling like an idiot. I'm laughing. I feel like I'm like kicking my feet like a child. I don't know. Like I'm just so overjoyed watching this movie. Love it so much. Wish
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan did more weird, fun stuff like this. But I mean, once you become Bond, I feel like you can't really go back to doing this stuff. Yeah, I guess you could, but I think he chose not to.
Yeah. No, he just kept going. Lazenby, however,
Oh
he
well, yeah, he
he
did some stuff.
he did some other stuff.
Yeah, well, I guess when you're only Bond for one movie, you can easily go back to some
You
other
could do
stuff.
like
But
Never Too Young to Die.
oh, great,
Yeah.
fun movie. I love that movie.
Another great one.
Have you done an episode of that movie?
No, it's one I was going to so many times, but it just hasn't popped up. Like,
Oh,
but
well,
it's one that we have some friends that mostly watch like more mainstream stuff, so they love to come over and they're like, Dirk, pick a movie out for us, and I'll come down here to the podcast studio and be like, crack my knuckles, and I'm like, okay, what can I show them? And that was one of the first ones that I was like, I know this will play because it's got Stamos and like the vanity situation, and I mean
my
the whole
God, that
part
whole
where the gun wall where she spins around like on the I mean,
yeah, that whole scene on like the patio where there's
yeah.
like, what are they doing? Are they putting oil on? I can't. It's like some weird, very sexual but funny thing. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
wild movie. Like, I would love an episode on that and on this show if you ever wanted to. I'd be happy to do that movie.
Oh, let's do it. Let's bring it back. I won't put you through two movies you don't like before that, and
I appreciate it.
we'll regroup on Never Too Young to Die. You heard it here first, listeners. I don't know why I had attitude with that, but Matt, thank you so much for being here for Live Wire. Where can people find you?
Oh, well, thank you for having me again. This was a lot of fun to talk about this movie that I have a new discovery that I love this year. So this was great. You could follow the podcast on Twitter at Film Feast Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Maplet87. You can follow me and the podcast on Instagram at Film Feast, all one word. New episodes of the podcast usually drop every Monday. We're pretty consistent for a while. So just check out what's going on all the socials. I'm posting about the episodes, what we're doing. Yeah, that's all.
Perfect. Yeah, so this has been our fantastic conversation about. As always, I'm Dirk Marshall. Tune in next time for our season 12 closer with Sarah Marshall returning to talk about all kinds of movies we've watched, as well as my daughter returning to give her feedback on two movies from my childhood, which I have her watch and we'll see what she thinks. As always, I'm Dirk Marshall, and we close out this episode with Kill You With Metal by Seven Fingered Pharaoh by Chris Green, my friend, incredibly talented musician, and all around great person. So until next time, goodbye, everybody.